Hey, I'm Rejected Shotgun. Throughout the Halo series, the UNSC have had the Pelican dropship and the Covenant have had the Phantom and Spirit dropships. However, if you've played the Halo Wars games or looked at any extended lore, you should know that there's actually quite a few more. And we actually see another UNSC dropship in both Halo 2 and 3, that being the Albatross. It's not a very widely discussed vehicle, as you really only see it in multiplayer maps crashed, like in Halo 3's Sandtrap or Halo 2's Relic. However, even though we don't actually see it in action, we can guarantee it's a vehicle. In Halo Wars 1, the Darter is a vehicle directly inspired from the Albatross, though canonically it is a separate vehicle. I know for sure that myself and many others really have wanted to see the Albatross as an actual vehicle for a long time, and as you saw in the intro there, well, I made exactly that happen, and it's really, really cool. What I really like about the Albatross, and what I'll go and show you in a second once we go in game to look at it, is that it actually fulfills a different niche from the Pelican. On the Covenant side of things, the Phantom and Spirit are basically the same vehicle with a different design. It's got a turret and it has a bunch of seats for troops to sit in, but that's about it. Whereas the Pelican kind of is the same thing for the UNSC, the Albatross is different in the fact that it's a heavily armored vehicle transport. Now don't get me wrong, you can transport troops and have players in the back of this thing just fine. In fact, it works even better with players, but once you rise up off the ground, the doors will close up and you'll be shielded from all projectiles. So long as the entire Albatross doesn't explode, it's really, really good for defense. And not only that, it can comfortably fit a Scorpion along with multiple other players at the same time. It's kind of a beastly vehicle. I'm really excited to show you this vehicle, and right before I get in game, I just want to remind you that if you enjoy this video, to leave a like and to subscribe if you want to see more cool Halo modding content like this. Got a ton more stuff coming. And as always, my quick sellout moment, I do have a Patreon, so if you want to talk to me one-on-one, get special roles on my Discord server, and talk in all of the private channels, as well as some other really cool benefits, go subscribe to my Patreon. It helps me more than you know. Alright then, let's go ahead, jump into the game, and see what the Albatross can do. Welcome to a test map. This is not supposed to be the map where I show off the Albatross, but it's for another project. Forgive the work in progress-ness of the map itself. But let's grab ourselves an Albatross here and kind of take a look at how it's all looking. So as I pull the Albatross to the ground, you will see the doors automatically open and close, which is pretty nifty. Unfortunately, the Albatross is currently using Pelican sound effects for everything, since we don't have custom sound importing working with the Halo 3 mod tools, but that's something that can be fixed and tweaked later on. As for the vehicle itself, before I even fly it, I mean, this thing is big. Like, it is really big. If I walk inside of it, like, there's a lot of space in here. And let me spawn a Scorpion real quick so you can get a size estimate of how this thing looks. Okay, so Scorpion, put it in the back. Immediately, it fits comfortably. Like, I could wiggle this back and forth, and you could even store some other stuff in here other than a Scorpion. It's pretty slick. Okay, now that I've got the Scorpion in the back, let me hop inside this thing, and I'll show you one of the coolest features about the Albatross. When I get inside this, the Scorpion will make some effects as though it's skidding, but it stays perfectly put in the back of the Albatross. And the reason for this is a really cool feature that Halo 3 has, known as early mover physics, and Halo 2 onwards has this, and it's not utilized in any real crazy capacity, but what it lets happen is any person or vehicle or object in the back of the Albatross will stay put as though it is locked into that frame. So when I get out, the Scorpion should have barely moved. Only the high accelerations and bumps and jumps will affect the Scorpion in any way. If I had players back here, they could walk around comfortably. Look, here's some footage of when I was walking around in the back of the Albatross, and my friend Green Knight was flying it around while we were doing some testing. You can literally see I was just absolutely chilling in the back as though nothing was really happening to me. This is a feature that Scarabs have. That's what lets you stay comfortably on the Scarab, even when it's walking around and doing all kinds of stuff. But when applied to a vehicle like the Albatross, it is actually so cool. So I had to get a little creative with the Albatross, actually, because I didn't know exactly how the wings and things moved, or I should say the engines rather than the wings. You can see that there's these hydraulic lines and you have these engines, and I may tweak and change the animations depending on if you guys in the comments or suggestions from my patrons kind of inform me on what the best way to do it is. But what I ended up doing for the wing, or excuse me, engine animations, was to simply have it so when you move forward, they rotate like so, as you can see there, And that was really the best solution I could come up with for making this thing have a thrust forward animation, because let's be honest, it really needs one in order to make any sense whatsoever. I also added these fiery engine effects. They were actually based off of the UNSC frigate Forward Unto Dawn's engines, but tweaked and scaled and edited a bit to make more sense. And I really, really like how they look. They're very powerful and fiery, and it's a really nice effect if I do say so myself. Now, I'm sure a lot of people are going to request that once this vehicle's in a map, you can press a button to open or close the doors, but in order to make this multiplayer compatible and not run on any map scripts, which don't work in multiplayer, I have it so the doors will automatically open and close depending on the distance you are from the ground. This is actually hijacking the suspension system that vehicles like the Warthog use to use suspension animations on their wheels. By instead tying that to an invisible point on the bottom of the Albatross and using the doors as the animation instead of wheels, you can get some really cool effects. This is also how I did the Pelican suspension animations where the landing gear comes out for those. It's a really nifty trick, and it can apply some really good results for flying vehicles and dropships just like the Albatross. And I'm just gonna be honest here, as I'm flying this thing around, this vehicle is super, super chunky. Like, it is thick, but I really like the way that it looks. I'm not 100% committed to these forward flying animations on it, but I think it's a really decent solution to making this thing look good and feel like a proper dynamic vehicle. And if you have any suggestions for how to fix this, like I said earlier, or to improve it, I'm all ears. That being said though, I already think this looks really good in its current state, and I'm super excited to include this in a big Forge mod. So if you're not subscribed already, please do if you want to see what becomes of this vehicle and what mods I end up putting it in, because I assure you, this is going into some big multiplayer Forge style mods, and it's gonna look sweet. Okay, this footage here is once again of my friend Green Knight and I when we were messing around and testing this to see how it worked in multiplayer. And as you can see, it's pretty fun to mess around and just have two albatrosses flying, but having a bunch of objects in the back of the Albatross also works really well. And on top of that, being able to sit in the back of it as you're being transported around is really, really cool. I do kind of wish this thing had windows, because it would be cool to be able to see out and what's going on when you're flying, but the feeling of having the doors open when you land somewhere and being presented out into the world is a really cool one. A lot of people have compared it to Starship Troopers, which I feel that. I really do. I don't plan on giving the Albatross any weapons necessarily, unless I can come up with something. I think it's really just good as a heavily defensible troop and vehicle transporter, and I think that is really perfect for what it is. I'll absolutely be showing some more updates on this vehicle, so like I said before, subscribe if you want to be kept up to date on what I'm doing with this, as well as how I integrate it into other mods, but I suppose that's all I really wanted to show today, so I hope you enjoyed this video. On screen now are a bunch of other videos that I've done with a bunch of other Halo mods, so go check those out if you're interested, but that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed, and I really hope that I see you in the next video. Bye-bye now.